Hi, I'm Chris, and this is Book for the Week, a bi-weekly book talk featuring Kent Free Library staff. Recently, we posted on Facebook asking you to tell us what books you hated reading in school, and you guys responded in a large number. And so I thought it'd be a little fun to share with you 3 books that I didn't enjoy reading in school, and then 3 books that I would choose to replace them. The first book I hated in high school was Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I thought this book was so long for what it was. The crime happens in the first 80 pages, the punishment happens in the last epilogue written 50 years after the publication of the novel. I just didn't connect with the theme, and I thought that there might be a book out there that does it better. And there is. In my opinion, My Sister, the Serial Killer by Onikon Breathwaite was so much better. In the novel, there are 2 sisters. One is the serial killer, and the other is the one who covers up her crimes. My Sister, the Serial Killer does a better job with the themes, and here's how. One of the themes is crime, morality, and sin. And by putting these 2 sisters together with 2 very different reactions to morality and guilt, one is wretched with guilt, one could care less, you are then offered an opportunity to look at how crime can impact individuals differently. Another theme is family. And of course, with 2 sisters, you're going to get a lot of that. This novel also introduces the question of what would you do for family and how far would you go? Another theme is free will. As you read this novella, again, you don't have to read 600 pages in order to get to these themes, you see a little hint of the sisters' past that might impact their actions in the future. And so it does raise the issue of nurture versus nature, which I think was very interesting. And lastly, it does have themes of money and poverty, specifically when it comes to women. One sister is a diligent worker who works in a hospital and hates her job, but does it because it's what pays the bill. The other is an Instagram influencer and fashion designer. And the younger sister then relies on her body in order to sell her clothes and make her money. And yet, those are exactly who she targets, the men who only see her as objects. And so it does present a very interesting commentary on women's place in the workplace and their bodies as money. All in all, I highly recommend My Sister, the Serial Killer. Another book I hated in high school was The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. This novel I thought was too flowery written for too horrible of characters who were completely unhappy. Even Pearl was unhappy, and she's a child. She has nothing to worry about. I hated it, and I think part of the reason why was because I had to read it in the summer, and outside my window looked way better than the reality inside this novel. Instead, I'd replace it with The Test by Sylvain Neuvel. This is a novella, so even if you have to read it in the summer, it won't take you long. Don't worry, you can still go outside. And it deals with themes similarly in The Scarlet Letter, but with more prevalent consequences. In The Test, an Iranian immigrant is trying to gain British citizenship for his family, and he has to take a test. It's a 25-question test, and that's it. That's all he has to do. Except it's not it. And soon the test jumps off the page and into real life. And so this novel explores individuality and conformity. You soon realize that the paper test, is just a facade. And actually, what he has to do, the real test, is choosing who will live and who will die in a simulated environment that he doesn't know is simulated. So he's being watched by these test takers and pushed into these impossible situations that he thinks are completely real. He doesn't realize it's part of the test. And they're looking for a specific response from him. And how he responds, like all the little details of his actions in the simulation from the very beginning, choosing to recycle or not, or helping the person that is shot, to who he chooses to be shot next, is all evaluated. And it's just a fascinating exploration at the mind and individuality and society and what society demands of you, and it blew my mind. Also, this novel examines sin in a really interesting way. I can't get too much into it because it is a huge spoiler, but our protagonist makes a choice in the end that has lasting consequences and offers a lot to discuss in the classroom with your friends or just with yourself to ponder. And so I highly recommend The Test over The Scarlet Letter. Another book I hated in reading in school, or rather, a type of book that I hated reading in school, were our war novels. I just found them to be depressing, bleak, graphic, and just unbearably sad. And in its place, I would like to present American War, which is graphic and bleak and depressing, but I think examines our world today in ways that some of the novel read in school does not accurately do. In American War, it actually predicts America's second civil war, and it's over gasoline. Global warming has wrecked the world, it has wrecked our country and completely changed the look of it. Florida is gone, California is gone, Columbus is the new capital. It is completely different. But there is still a North and South tension, and our protagonist is actually from the Deep South, and so her mentality being shown, her going through the struggles from when she's very little to very older, is just fascinating and eerily echoes mentalities of the past and the future. It puts you kind of in a time loop. It examines themes of nationality and in individuals and nations, sacrifice, and it does so in a captivating way. I absolutely adored this novel, even though it wasn't a novella. I could not get enough. It ended way too fast, even though I think it's like 400 pages, but it just goes by so well. It definitely keeps you on your toes and kind of gives you tension that isn't reliant on gore or depressing situations. You want her to succeed at the same time that you don't, and that was such an interesting internal battle for the reader and to have to deal with the narrator. I highly recommend American War. If you disagree with me specifically on any of these classics, you think that they're worth discussing still in school, please let me know. Or if you have other books that you'd like to present in a kind of new canon, let me know those as well. Follow us on social media, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks!